Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is your host, Christopher Michael Curtis Bowen, on this evening edition of Fire for Liberty on the 24th of July, 2017. Co-creating a multi-creationalistical transcendence of accelerated advancement and all forms and aspects of biological and, materialistical and animate and inanimate forms, also with the acceleration of multivariatical or multivarialistic transcendence, which is the compound acceleration of the many different multifaceted layers of complete accelerated transcendence of not only the mentality of what is, for example, the mentality and the spirit in the body and the embodiment of consciousness in the constant ever accelerating ascension rate, compounded with, of course, the innate essences of one, the innate ability, the innate sentience, I guess we'll say, and the innate magic, and the innate unlimited power, and then combining that with what is the ultimate. Well, I'm actually going to give the name to that. So I'll call it, I guess, an ultimate equation. An ultimate equation, because there's probably multiples, or there are multiples of them, which can most definitely, probably presently, or in the future be proven under the law of consciousness. Regardless, that, I guess, the ultimate equation, one of them is, of course, not only freedom plus love, but kind of, I guess, the importance of what that freedom is what leads to a type of liberty, clarity, understanding in terms of what constantly allows the co-creative ideas, the co-creative flows, and the co-creative limitlessness expansion of what is the never-ending and ever-prevalent mindset of the mind, which is, of course, limitless. The mind, of course, one of the major things that is super in this new ultimate equation term is multivariatical or multivarialistic transcendence. The mind is able to actually create, flow, and manifest many different types of magic in essence, and to be specific, I guess would be that's solid. It could be solid, or it can be spiritual, or it could be both. The spiritual manifestation of the magic, meaning spiritual abilities, meaning telekinesis, pyrokinesis, hydrokinesis, earth bending, to teleportation, psychokinesis, psychokinetics, as well as all the clairvoyance, clairaudience, clairessence, clairsentience, and of course the omnis, and then the super, and then the strengths, the physical, which is super strength, super speed, super endurance, stamina, health, advanced biological function in general. Those are actually probably some of the most basic innate capabilities of magic that's in essence of every being, and that's compounded, as I was saying, with the multivariatical transcendence, combining not only all the tremendous amount of ascension that occurred, but also it's now part of the imagination times spirit to the power of truth equation can now be fast forward the flow. It's in a sort of flow with that understanding that Ascendance is now in magical form as Ascendance to the power of truth. And of course, to get there, or what the solution is, or what the reciprocal could also be, is freedom, which is what one of the answers is for freedom plus love, or love plus freedom, or the reciprocal of what it means to have these manifestations come into reality with the awareness of the transcendence that ultimately not only predicates but is the product of the super accelerated ascension. For one of the key things that is a part of magic in essence, of course, is matter, and of course non-matter, or just manifestation, the instant manifestation. To be more deliberate with the types of air, let's do the biological amazing things, which of course is one of the incredible things is of course thought forms, and the intent with mind and air. The wanting, for example, of shifting to another time period, or another time frame, or just like a reality shift of where you want to be. One things that the planet does is it makes wind, and that wind is an ascension, a capability, acceleration for what happens when the motion is moving through to go through the journey, which of course is not necessarily, as I actually already said for the last edition, the destination is not necessarily a destination, or the journey is a journey, and that wind is a flow that goes through and is felt through, of course, eternity. That wonderful magnificence of what happens with the acceleration of one of the basic forms of thought forms of air is that flow goes onward into a type of environment ecosystem. And one of the really cool ones that I gave was the trees, grass, the types of insects and the bugs in those environments, and as well as the bats, for like a type of forestry scene. Many different types of beautiful ecosystems can be entered and visited at any time. One of the very cool ones is, for example, streams with fish, water bugs, ladybugs, and tons of trees, as well as lots of foliage, but mostly shrubberies, and lots of lots of brooks, and lots of rocks with tons of magnificent moss, many different types of greeneries, and of course, perhaps even small fish and salamanders as well. This beautiful type of ecosystem transition is a type of motion that can be in the flow of what is co-creative, what is expansive of just one of the parts of magic, one of the parts of land, and one of the parts of water. So that was actually just one example of air. For example, magic in essence. One of the really cool ones, cool abilities, especially, which is ultimately one of the of course everything is incredibly ascensional and transitional in co-creative abilities, but one of the key ones is lava, which is playing a key part in what this beautiful transition is. Well, more like accelerated advancement, transcendentalation. Once again, of course, imagination times spirit to the power of truth equals freedom plus love. One of the freedoms that will be embodied is the liberty of being able to live in habitable areas that are previously inhospitable. And of course, that applies to air, land, and water, but I'll be more specific, and that is with the land. And that's lava, magma. To be able to live, move, exist, eat, thrive, produce, manifest, build civilizations, design architectures, new structures, new tools, new elements, new ways of life, new cultures, new customs, new capabilities, new talents, and new abilities, just off of the ecosystem that is just based upon magma. For the same reason that, for example, civilizations are grown and built and developed and then migrated from rivers, from mountains, that's one of the accelerated expansions of what this ascension is, to be living in magma. And what's very key about that is that it's not only possible, but it's already been done. And of course, the fifth density beings, of course, have already done that. And they're on Venus, and that's, of course, the environment they've been living on for thousands and thousands of years. And of course, this is a co-creative process. So the transcendence of what their wisdom is when it comes to living in inhospitable plains is, of course, very key wisdom in our incredibly incredible ascension in just this specific form of environmental development, living, and lifestyle in an ascended, peaceful state of accelerated transcendence capability in this spiritual form. And that's just very exciting for just the fact of magma living, of course, the ideas, of course, that stem from this magma, in that multivariatical transcendence alone is very key. Water, for specifics with water, of course, is clouds. Motherships usually are in the shape of clouds, or in the shape of, or have cloud covers, or cloud, for sake of simplicity, cloud making machines, quote, cloud making machines, unquote. Most of the clouds, of course, not only are, made out of vapor, but slightly more dense, but not dense as in water, but dense as in I guess, for lack of a better term, a bit more solid than cotton candy. Of course, to develop ecosystems, cultures, housings, customs, cultures, buildings, architectures, aqueducts, many different types of living areas based upon that foundation of what is cloud covers, cloud shapes, cloud areas, cloud realms, building upon the word realm, which I explained in detail yesterday. And that realm is what allows us to help transition into not only the spiritual accelerated advancement of that multivariatical transcendence awareness, but into that multivariatical ascended transformation reality, into developing whatever. I mean, it could be transportation, it could be housing, it could be, I mean, I don't really want to micromanage, but it could be housing, it could be transportation, it could be recreation, development, architecture, designs, even new forms of sport, air sports, sky sports. And then, of course, that is a very solid transition. I think that's a very basic foundation, air. The multivariatical transition of what air, movement through ecosystems, manifestation from magic and essence, with the ultimate law of creation of, for example, consciousness awareness, as well as magma, foundation of a magma civilization, with, of course, it would be great, and which is actually already happened and is happening, the assistance of those spiritually enlightened Venusians, or people from beings from Venus, and then, of course, clouds, cloud civilization, cloud structure. Once again, the key realities that are portrayed in many different types of shows, movies, are very instrumental in not only accelerating the advancement of consciousness, but enlightening and raising consciousness towards an even higher expanded level. Of course, allowing continued unity, teleportation, telekinesis, all the psychic abilities, and of course all the physical, and of course the mental, accelerated advancement consciousness. And of course that is not just limited to what happens on, for example, this 3D realm. Of course there's 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, infinite, up to infinite realities of densities, of lesser densities, that allows us to raise in consciousness. For example, what has been termed the higher self. I guess specifically what I find more helpful to recognize is kind of that what you want to become, or where you want to get to, you have to realize it's kind of already within yourself to get there, and so that's how that process kind of gets you there. And then so that becomes magic in action, and that's what kind of is able to see. That's what we can see, not only with, I guess, mental vision and spiritual vision, but actually it is a combination of all three. It is mental, spiritual, and physical. Combination of all those understandings allows you to actually visualize and see the actual manifestation of the magic and progress. And it happens, all the time. The same type of movement that is similar with that rotation that insects do. Insects are very brilliant. They, for example, some of them have a hive mind. So insects are very capable of navigating their way through evolution of how they can best adapt. For example, just a very quick digression. The mass of a planet determines their size. So when there's less mass, there's less need for the insects, for example, or bugs to be smaller. And they're a bit larger because there's less gravitational pull. And that's how the sizes of that's why the variety and the sizes of for example, the butterflies are so much larger on Thioba, on one of those golden planets in this galaxy, than they are on planet Earth. The difference is feet. 2-foot butterflies, and we have maybe the largest one is a foot. But I digressed. Magic development, of course, is with all three: mind, body, and spirit. And then that Ascension process, which is combined, of course, not only with combined ultimate equations, but multivariatical transcendence, which is, of course, is compounded Ascension. One of the spectacular things, just in general, is the ability to manifest and the ability to create and understand the flow of a balance of Ascension and the balance of balanced nature. Ultimately, many of the wonderful accelerated states of living, states of being, and accelerated states of technologies is incredibly different than the other. It's fire. Fire is a very unique thing that is a element that is changeable, interchangeable, and we can add and develop many variations of how to form, make, manifest, hold, subdue, grow, intensify, and manifest fire. And that is not only with what was previously understood, which is, for example, wood, twigs, a spark to ignite the flame, and then intensified fires in other areas combining to make a large fire, but with hot water, with heaters, with radiation, with electromagnetic energy, with electricity, and of course there's plenty more examples. The progression of fire is a very key element of our own acceleration or advancement process, and it's also key to understand, for example, what happened with where we, for example, it's kind of omnipresent, so where we are with fire is where we are with fire. So where we are with, able to make fire out of flint is the same thing to help transition, for example, to make fire around an object, which actually sounds quite simple, but it actually is. For example, plasma fields around a object or around a device or something of some sort not only powers it and gives it replenishing energy, but gives it the ability to basically levitate or reduce its mass to zero or negative mass. And that's, of course, what allows objects to float. And that's one very key aspect of unlimited expansion when it comes to how to apply many of these advanced technologies that allows, for example, life and ascension to be a lot easier. So it's being very specific now to be more broad. The ability to create is going to be incredibly fast, very, very quick. Of course, not only is it's going to be incredibly fast. The speed of which we're able to manifest solar systems, planets, was already at incredible rates of speed of type 200 plus civilizations just in very recent, whatever we can perceive as time. But right now we're already in the 400s. We're at type 413 civilization, which is 10 to the power of 400. Type 413 civilization, so it's 10 to the power of 4,136 watts, which is quite a lot of energy, not only to make many, for example, fluid dodecahedronical expanded areas of creation in those universes, but multiple energy fluctuations already devised from the creation of multiple advanced civilizations, like multiple type 233 civilizations and multiple type 310 civilizations. These have been building and adding a lot of energy, and they assist each other, they help each other, and this is only one access point of the accelerated expansion, that is Ascension. Ascension is not only limited to what happens, of course, on this spiritual and physical realm on Earth, but also, once again, allows us to go and create planets, or go to a home planet, and then not only remember the entire memory, for example, of our souls, which are timeless. I mean, trillions and trillions and trillions of years, if we had to put it in time, but trillions and trillions of years old, just absolutely ancient, but incredibly young, I guess, per se. It's kind of just that recognition of that power, and that's something that's very, very key with ultimately the simple equation, which kind of does a lot for the law of consciousness. I mean, that ultimate equation, imagination plus time spirit to the power of truth, which equals freedom and love, and of course many different types of reciprocals and variations of the versions of how that equation can be made, as well as the many other equations that I explained earlier. The equation of what imagination means is absolutely magnificently incredible, when not only we understand the awareness of what happens in our solar system, for example, biospheres, advanced technology, space travel, and just the unity of consciousness in general, allows us to recognize just how special this imagination to time spirit to the power of truth equaling freedom is, allowing us to be free to the limitlessness of what unlimited potential was, is, and always can be, always will be. So understanding that transition, for example, of accelerated multi-creationalistical advancement and multivariaticistic transcendence can be an entire expanded realm of clarity, of understanding, of capability, of development, of skills, and of just that mind state where we can now step into that, for example, quote, step into that area or step into that environment with that energy, for example, or that type 417 civilization existence. And that's kind of what, for example, the essence of freedom plus love is many of the different equations that are, for example, ultimate equations. It is a recognition, a development, and an instinct, and I guess definitely a positive transformation of the full capabilities of what it means to have that, for example, mind, body, and spirit, which is in the capabilities of all beings and all life. Life in general, or what I mean life in general, nature, trees, plants, shrubberies, even fruit, vegetables have aura, have an energy, have a life force. Those life forces are not only able to give life to those that ingest, but of course return life to the ground, the soil, in that beautiful cycle. That magnificent cycle, of course, is one of the things I described as stardust, which is prevalent not only on but in the bones, and that's kind of in the essence of what is, for example, the aura that I described earlier, which is ultimately contains what can be called the Akashic Record. How I like to describe it is that, for example, to go into... Oh, here's one thing that's very, very cool. That's very important about magic. And this is actually pretty much common knowledge, the awake state and the lucid state. Awakened dreams, lucid dreams, and being aware of those. That is a very key form of kind of going into that area of astral knowledge, of unlimited, Akashic knowledge, and that area of what was the entire skill set that you had, for example, or that was had as a trillion-year-old being, or as a entity who lived so many lifespans on this planet, or as a life form that lived a certain progression of life on a different planet, or a type of mastery that you experienced with certain psychic skills, or the level of mastery achieved on another planet before coming to this planet with the physical or mental or spiritual, or all of the above capabilities, and the aura that is in the etheric memories, or there are etheric memories, but in the etheric energy of those fields. Once again, to be a little bit more simplistic, air, land, water, those devices not only already exist, but they're going to be made, they're going to be brought out, and they're going to change a lot of things on the planet incredibly quick. That's for air. With land, of course, that's going to change a lot of things in the way we live life very drastically, very quickly. Same thing with water. It's going to change the way we view life very quickly, very drastically. Just some very quick, simple things are spacecraft, hovercraft, some of the different variances of colors there's more colors that exist than I guess we could say we're currently aware of. But I guess we are all aware of all the colors, technically, because we live in the galaxy that contains planets that have all those colors. Land, so different types of underground tunnels, underground cavern systems, underground trains that travel at very high speeds. You can go to Hollow Earth, from the surface to the Hollow Earth in minutes, very, very fast, as well as many different types of drills that have been in existence, and have been used to make these super smooth, incredibly large tunnels, and then as well as water, mermaids, many different species of underwater beings that have not existed before, or haven't existed before, but just have not been discovered. Underwater bases, or water cities, which is actually the cover of this design. And then, of course, just life forms in general. The ability to manifest, not only bioluminescent, but just bio beings, or able to live and garden, just like we garden on Earth. Well, of course we garden on Earth, garden on land. We can garden coral, we can garden life, and we can provide a nursery or a daycare, per se. And that's going to give a very advanced, what's the word? An incredibly diverse set of life things to do. Because, of course, everything is unlimited, not only transportation, for example, with vehicles, and then all the different activities that can occur, recreation, transportation, entertainment, etc. And then, of course, we have the many different types of landscapes that exist. Of course, ultimately, and of course, the current water type of landscapes that exist. Multivariaticalistic transcendence is a compounding of all those. This is a very grand, beautiful, positive fruition. This is your host, Christopher Michael Curtis Bowen, on this evening edition of Fire of Liberty, continuing the transcendence of nature, being a creator being incarnate, creating, manifesting, building, designing, and providing a peaceful ascension on Earth for all beings, and of course throughout the universe. Love you all.